Well, Sam, Saturday throws up a meeting between two managers who've both had spells in the opposition dugout. What are you expecting the game to be like against Roy's Palace on Saturday?
Well, I was well organised with Roy. I think one of the few managers that favours a 4-4-2 most of the time. I think that that's our challenge. Unusual to play against two front men in the game today, and not easy to break down, of course. So yeah, difficult challenge, as every game is for ourselves. But we're performing very well at the moment, and I think that if we carry on that performance, we can hopefully turn these performances into victories. And really, as we all know, we have to start trying to get victories as quickly as we can, and hopefully the opportunities will arise on Saturday against Palace for us to be much more clinical than we've been in the last few games. So a number of points dropped that we could have gained, but we can't cry over spilt milk, as they say. We've got to try and progress one stage further and turn good performances into victories.
I know from speaking to you before games and after games, you've been very, very pleased with our defensive work of late. 3 clean sheets in the last 4 games, but during that time, Sam, only 1 goal as well. Have the players had extra finishing sessions laid on for them this week? Have you had any extra attacking drills?
We do that all week in and week out, and we never don't cover every aspect of what we want to try and improve. I think that on a match day, it's about having the capabilities of finishing your chances. It's easy to see the lads can put the ball in the back of the net in training. It's not as easy on a match day. They really have to be a bit more clinical. We did a little stat this week on where are we and what are we doing from an attacking point of view, and from a statistically point of view, we are arriving an awful lot in the opposition's final third, but as I've mentioned before, we've lacked a little bit of quality, and then our creation of chances is there, and our shots on target, goals scored and finishing is not as good as it should be. So on those statistics, we're in there and we're creating, and we sit around 7th in the Premier League, but when we look at the chances created and the shots at target and the goals scored, we're down to about 20th in the Premier League. So that's the only area that we need to improve on dramatically now to try and get those victories.
How important is 3 points on Saturday, Sam? Not just because of the position that we find ourselves in the Premier League table, but also for morale and confidence, and also for the fact that we don't play again for 3 weeks after Saturday.
Well, it'd be nice to finish on a high and finish with a victory, of course, with a massive 3-week gap, which we didn't particularly want, but when we all have to face these difficulties because of the pandemic. But you know, yes, we've got to keep going. I think morale's been pretty good. I think that they all look sharp. Certainly the fitness levels has improved. I think that you know, the level of fitness we put into the Newcastle game, which came particularly after the Everton match on Thursday, was a greater effort by the players to match an even better Newcastle, who hadn't had a game all that week. But the unfortunate thing is, technically we weren't quite good enough in the final third, and that ended up with a 0-0 draw. We've given ourselves a great base to have won more games. Unfortunately, haven't managed to do that. And you know, I mean, one of the biggest disappointments, of course, is not just the win, but also not getting the point against Everton, when that really had enough chances to be a victory, but also in the end finally slipped up just on one occasion and ended up losing. So yeah, it's been very disappointing, the final outcome, but I have to be, you know, and keep promoting the players on that eventually we will turn these performances into victories.
Victory at Selhurst Park on Saturday, Sam, would it almost not change the mindset, but give you a fresh mindset of, okay, we've got a little bit of a break now and we can give it one last final big effort, one last push in the last few games of the season?
I think now we turn to facing each game as it arises. There's a few players after this game going on international duty, and for me just to say to them, look, it's every effort that you've been giving has to maintain the same. Every performance has to be as a higher level as we possibly can. But we've really got to start finishing at the you know, the real end that real matters. You know, keep that defensive record going, but if you keep creating chances like you are, sooner or later one's going to go in the back of the net. I mean, when you see Mbai's toenail offside against Everton, that's the disappointing thing. That little bit of luck that goes in your way makes a huge amount of difference. So that hasn't happened at the moment, and hasn't happened recently, where I think we've had a little bit of the run of the green. But we have to keep going, and we have to keep performing, and ultimately it's always in our own hands whether we get a victory or not. There may be things that go against us, maybe VAR, maybe a refereeing decision. Yes, we don't want that, but we can't control that. What we can control is what we do ourselves.
And just finally, Sam, any injury concerns heading down to South London?
I think only Robert Snodgrass had a bit of problem in training, but we're assessing that today. We'll know by mid-afternoon what the situation is. Everybody else is seemingly okay, I'm glad to say.